Hey guys, Dan Lorenz here, and in this video, I'm simply going to tell you my story. Listen, I'm just a 20-year veteran, right? In 1998, I graduated high school, and I knew that college wasn't the way for me. So I joined the Army. I went to the 82nd. I got to see several countries in Europe and Eastern Europe. And then I went to Korea and served on the DMZ for a year. But I always knew I wanted to go to college. So after my first enlistment, I went ahead, went to college, and then the wars kicked off. Afghanistan, Iraq, and I decided, man, I want to be on the front lines. And so I joined the U.S. Army Special Forces. That has been the most valuable choice and the most epic leadership decision I've ever made. Throughout my military career, I've deployed to the Middle East, Central, South America, and I've had the opportunity to liaise with high-ranking foreign government officials and high-ranking American government officials like ambassadors or chiefs of station and just everyone at the embassy in a face-to-face, hand-to-hand level of solving complex challenges. And what I've learned is that veterans, whether you're paratroopers or you're in the infantry or whatnot, we all have the inherent skills necessary to become successful business leaders. But I still wasn't ready. So in 2012, after an epic tour in El Salvador as the team commander, I briefed generals almost on a weekly basis on the strategic objectives we were reaching for the American government and the El Salvadoran government, where I led 11 other Green Berets to achieve these things. It was literally the epitome of a Green Beret mission and the highest level of my career. So being in the National Guard at that time, I said, well, what am I going to do when I return? And so I got a job as an intel analyst in Northern Virginia. And for 6 months, I woke up at 4 in the morning. I arrived at the office at 6, and I worked until 2 p.m. in a windowless area called a skiff. And all I did was build link charts of terrorist networks. It was the worst job I've ever done in my life. The reason is because I didn't have any say-so. I didn't have anyone to lead. I couldn't impact anyone, and I couldn't help soldiers on the battlefield with the intel I was gathering due to political reasons. And so one day, 6 months into that job, I woke up at 4 in the morning, got to the end of my bed, and just started crying. I didn't know why. I had worked so hard my entire life in the military to become an officer, become a Green Beret, through combat, working with ambassadors, to do a job that was so meaningless and not gratifying at all. And I just remember my hands in my face thinking, what has my life come to? How is this me? So I had a 45-minute talk with the universe on my ride to work. And I said, things are gonna change. So in my mind, I was already struggling to find a job as a Green Beret officer because I didn't know how to translate my skills. So I thought an MBA was the most logical step. I went to work, I told everyone in my little team that I'm quitting and I'm gonna go get an MBA, and they all chuckled, laughed, or said, go get them. It didn't really matter because it's what's in here that matters. It's what you're willing to do. Who cares about anyone else? For the most part, they were supportive. I told my boss, and he was probably just like, okay, whatever. Just tell me when you're leaving so I can find someone to replace you. So I just went on a path. I went on a firing mission to apply to as many MBA programs as possible, which really only turned out to be about 5. And I got accepted. But at the same time, I had the second most valuable conversation I've ever had with my brother, who is also a veteran of Desert Storm 1, and someone who's never had any higher education, just served in the Marine Corps, and then started his path in entrepreneurship. And he said, well, why don't we just start a business? Because you've seen what my business has done for me here. Why don't we just partner up and start one? And I just remember thinking, man, I don't I don't know how to run a business. And he's like, yes, you do. You're a veteran, man. You lead. You create mission plans. You've led operations. He's like, you've got much more military experience than I did. And I said, well, I don't have any money. I'm living paycheck to paycheck. And he said, take a personal loan, man. If that's what you want, then you got to do what you need to do to get it. And so I did. So not only was I working through my MBA, but I was starting a franchise with my brother, who had already owned one. And we started building that up. And I was able to go ahead and compare real-world business experience with the theoretical business experience that I was learning in my MBA program. And as we built that up, I was able to use my MBA and learn how to translate my military skills as a leader and as a decision maker and an officer to land a job on Wall Street. After Wall Street seemed to be what it wasn't, I was working from 9 in the morning till 2 in the morning and not seeing my family and living in Brooklyn, New York. Well, I wanted to go back to DC where I'm from. And so I got recruited by a top 4 consulting firm. And I said, man, I think I finally made it. Well, I went to the consulting firm and it was really the same, except now I was in a cubicle from 8 in the morning to 5 p.m. Still not making decisions, still not impacting, still not leading, and still having to kiss the ring or play a game. But let me tell you, it was worth it. I learned a lot. But really what I learned is that, man, I can rely on my skills as a intuitive, persistent decision maker, as a military officer, and more importantly as a Green Beret, to leverage that position to create my own career. And so while I was working at that firm, I continued to branch out. My brother and I started another franchise. The way that I was able to solve those complex problems helped me create yet another business, this time a startup. And now, ever since then, since that franchise has been doing really well, my side business off of that franchise, traditional model of entrepreneurship, has taken off. Even in this last year, as I've deployed and then returned, it's enabled me to quit corporate America altogether, work for myself, be a truly self-employed individual, and help me get to the point that I am now, internally and externally. And so what does that look like for you? Well, I was able to sell my first franchise for a good profit. Our second franchise is almost debt-free, working hard. I've limited my work capacity about 2 to 4 hours a week, but most importantly, I became a franchise consultant. And I've entirely become self-employed. And now I can help veterans and individuals that are leaving corporate America or they've been laid off find their ideal franchise, the one that's going to enable them to take control of their financial future, to send their kids to good schools, to pay off their debt. Heck, maybe go see Yosemite for 2 months. Whatever you want. But it's about getting that control, taking care of yourself, creating generational wealth, and finding the right way to live a life that you love. So here I am. I get to take my kids to school. I get to go to all their events. I don't have to request days off. I know what I need to do on a daily basis to ensure that I'm going to continue to earn a living and provide for my family. And that is the most gratifying thing I've ever done in my life. It drives me every morning. I hate the weekend. I can't wait for Monday. And I dread closing hours on Friday night because my job is so amazing. I get to help you live a life that I'm loving, but only to fit it in your terms. So, if you found value in my story and you think you can achieve the same thing, but you just don't know how, or you don't know if franchising is for you, just reach out to me. But don't ever forget, keep moving forward.